Alright, in my previous review of this, the Cold Steel Parrying Dagger, I talked about how impressed I was with not only the overall build quality, but the size of it. 13-inch blade. Nah, that's not a parrying dagger. That's a parrying dagger. Putting my inner Crocodile Dundee aside, yes, they are both parrying daggers. The Cold Steel feels a little bit heavier. It's certainly stouter in the grip and the blade, but 13-inch blade versus a 17-inch blade. And those quillins are 12 inches across. This is the Musketeer main gauche from Windlass that matches their Musketeer Rapier. And it has all of the same great things that I love about that rapier, so I'm glad I got it. Cost me about the same as the Cold Steel, maybe a $10 difference because there were sales involved. But yeah, it was getting kind of hard to find. There are rumors it may be getting discontinued, so I figured I'd better get one while they were still there, and I'm glad I did. Let's take a look at the good and the not sure about it. Mostly the good. Alright, starting from the hilt. Like the rapier, nickel silver plated, very well done. It's got the French cross engraved on the handguard. The grip, wire, single wire, over a kind of cross-shaped cross section that allows you to index very well. No Turk's heads, but no hot spots. As far as I can tell, the construction is a combination of threaded pommel and rivets. Looks like quite a puzzle. Haven't tried to take it apart, but it's stayed really solid so far. Comfortable in the hand, very nicely balanced with the point of balance right at the guard. Blade, 1065, just like the rapier, polished just like the rapier, and just like the rapier, factory sharpened as a standard feature. Didn't have to pay extra for it, and just like the rapier, they did a good job. There's a secondary bevel, obviously, but it's not bad at all. I haven't had to touch this up. And like the rapier, I probably won't need to. Now, of that 17 inches, 13 is sharp, and then 4, you've got these very interesting shapes on the ricasso. Now, I suspect these are to assist in the bind, and we'll take a look at that in handling. But having these hooks facing forward, well, first of all, I'm used to weapons in Chinese and Japanese martial arts with rear-facing hooks that allow me to pull a weapon down and out of the way. I feel like they should have gone that way with this one, maybe. Probably not traditional. But one problem I have had, well, pretty much from the beginning, is with the scabbard. Now, nothing wrong with the scabbard to speak of. It's like its bigger brother, that kind of dark Prussian blue, so not too garish. Simple throat with the little knob, simple shape, leather. It's got a little bit of flex to it, but it fits pretty well, except for, you'll notice it is wider towards the throat to accommodate that ricasso. What happens, though, besides the fact that it's still full of that white powder stuff I keep having to wipe off, if I eyeball it and do it carefully, it's no problem, and everything is just nice, snug, and well fit. But if I'm trying to do this by feel and not by eye, and even sometimes when I'm doing it by eye, if I don't get it exactly straight, yeah, that's not good. So, gonna have to get used to that. But again, we need to take a look at how the thing functions. Before that final note, let's talk about flex. What flex? Yeah, impressively stiff blade considering how narrow it is. So how does it move? Okay, bear with me. I admit I've only been studying rapier and dagger formally for a handful of months now. But I've had a lot of experience dual wielding weapons in Chinese and Japanese martial arts, specifically swords. In Chinese martial arts, you tend to be talking about two matched weapons, but for instance, in Japanese swordsmanship, it's often uchigatana with wakizashi, long sword and short sword. This comes up in rapier and dagger one of the things that's illustrated quite immediately, I've found, is the freedom of movement between these two weapons. They're not likely to entangle and bind with each other. The other thing I'm immediately appreciating as a pragmatic martial artist is how easy it is to cover the largest potential number of attack lines with very, very subtle, efficient movement to be able to intercept an enemy and immediately counterstrike. So that's exceptionally appealing. Nothing fancy, very straightforward, very effective. Now in my history, I've talked about, well, over and over again, how if HEMA was available to me when I was young, probably would have gone down that path. Talked about how I was inspired by watching the 3 and 4 Musketeers way back in the early 70s. But I remember as a little kid seeing an original illustration, a woodcut of 2 men fighting with rapier and dagger from one of those classic manuals, and it struck me profoundly that these guys meant serious business. And I guess I've always been kind of chasing that. And now I'm actively able to explore it. Now you'll see that I'm parrying, but I'm also pairing the Cold Steel with my Windlass Munich. Doing that for 2 reasons. One, I can face the camera without putting the sword through the wall. Also, just to illustrate the beef, this is a beefy sword. The grip on this thing is actually meatier, so they kind of go together in terms of just sheer straight up mass, and that mass gives me just enough inertia in the blade that I feel like I can catch something pretty heavy with this. Also, yes, those really strange swept forward quillins, they're pretty effective in grabbing stuff, so I am appreciating this weapon. What about the Musketeer? First, paired with the short one, so I can face you. One of the things about this is, between the blade length and the quillins, I've got, well, there's a lot more hand protection just with the handguard, but I've got a lot more of what I would consider a shield going. I can cover a lot more potential line with very little movement on my part. Also, especially if they're kind of matched length like this, somebody gets past the tip of the blade, being able to change my footwork or shift, yeah, I can bring the tip of this weapon in very effectively to defend myself. I'm liking that. Now, a couple of things about the particular shapes of this weapon. Yeah, that hook does stop things. Doesn't really totally grab it, but it can be very effective in the bind. And yes, even these little grooves can be useful. Now, from my experiences with certain Chinese weapons, again, I'm used to having hooks facing the other way that allow me to grab a weapon hook and pull it down. And I can't do it with this. However, the width of these quillins, yeah, not only does it give me more of a shield, but it helps prevent that quick disengage that could get around my guard and get me from the other side. That's a lot more real estate to clear to get a sword around my guard without me having to move much. So I'm really appreciating the safety that it's providing me in the fight. Let's pair it with its brother. First of all, shiny, shiny, and lots of hand protection between both of them. Now, again, can't really extend the weapon this way without it going through the wall, but coming back here, you can kind of see how these work and complement each other very effectively. So that, yeah, I can definitely move with these and keep myself very well protected. And one of the big concerns with a weapon that's this long is if somebody comes in close, gets past my point, yeah, I've got a weapon I feel like I can protect myself with very effectively in here or by changing lines. Lot of potential of these two blades working together. So I feel very confident with them, well, pretty much right off the bat. That means I think I made a good purchase. So, let's get that conversation started in the comments. I hope this was useful information. If you're considering rapier and dagger. If you've had experience with rapier and dagger, share that in the comments. Let's get that conversation going. Love talking to you guys on these topics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.